Night for 165.
I just love seeing Ocho play, bro. Ah, fuck, yeah. I gotta watch Ocho clips, man. Bro, how good was Ocho Cinco? Chad, nigga, he tough, guy.
His name is permanently velcroed into
He tough.
NFL history. Between the gold teeth, gold hair, and gold jacket, Johnson was the gold standard for NFL receivers in the 2000s. But how good was number 85, or Ocho Cinco, actually?
Let's go.
Chad Johnson was raised by his grandmother in an area of Miami that was pretty much the real-life version of GTA Vice City. But Chad found an escape from the money, hustlers, and poorly animated streetwalkers through football. From a young age, Johnson's playmaking ability was obvious, but poor behavior and even poorer grades kept him from playing D1 college ball. Instead, Johnson played for Santa Monica Community College, where wide receivers coach Charles Collins took the young, cocky wideout under his wing, and he told Johnson exactly what he needed to hear.
He thought he could play, but he couldn't play worth a turd. Yeah, he was really a turd.
Nonetheless, with coach's help, Johnson quickly shed the turd moniker and became a key contributor to the team. But even though Johnson was maturing on the field, issues in the classroom persisted, making him academically ineligible to play in the '98 season. But with guidance from Coach Collins and his tell-it-like-it-is approach,
he was really a turd.
Chad got his grades up and stepped his game up. After 3 years of junior college, he transferred to Oregon State, leading the Beavers to an 11-1 record in a season that saw Johnson catching everything, including the attention of NFL scouts.
Y'all talking about me?
Johnson was selected 36th overall in the '01 draft by the Cincinnati Bengals.
Cincinnati has selected wide receiver from Oregon State University, Chad Johnson.
A team that hadn't delivered their fans a winning season for over a decade. And the team continued to struggle under Chad's first 2 seasons. But 85's commitment and love for the game could not waver.
I've heard players talking about that they don't want to come to the Bengals, but this is where I want to be. Are they losing? Well, I'm going to do everything I can to change everything around.
Johnson was so dedicated to his craft, the guy never left Paul Brown Stadium. His first 2 years in the league, Chad to his craft, the guy never left Paul Brown Stadium. His first 2 years in the league, Chad literally slept in the stadium's players' lounge, making it easy to be that first one in the building, last one out kind of guy. Following a disastrous 2-win season in '02, the Bengals hired Marvin Lewis to transform the team into a playoff contender. But Chad Johnson had set his sights even higher.
Secret. I want to be one of the greatest to ever play this game.
That's not a secret.
But I want to be better than Rice.
That's right.
Y'all got to help me.
And we're going to help you.
Then, even with the sky-high aspirations, since he started 2003 with a disappointing 1-4 record, the breaking point for Chad came after a Week 5 overtime loss against Buffalo. Johnson was so frustrated by his performance, after the game he wrote Bengals offensive coordinator Brad Protkowski a $100,000 check and told him to cash it if he couldn't perform at a high level against their rival Baltimore Ravens.
Next game, I went crazy. I went off.
Chad went for 130 yards while also smoking Hall of Fame safety Ed Reed on an 82-yard touchdown. Protkowski tore up Johnson's $100,000 check the very next day. As the season rolled on, Johnson's dynamic big play ability as well as his national popularity were on the rise. He loved the game, but as he would soon begin to find out, he also loved making the lives of opposing defenders absolutely miserable, something he did with his feet and his mouth.
God damn.
Right. Oh, get to him. Let's go. Get to him. Let's go.
Johnson's verbal jabs and creative one-liners were legendary and redefined NFL trash talk.
Hey, come on. I want you right there.
Chad got under his
Right
opponent's
there.
skin not just before or after the play, but even during.
Chad Ocho Cinco, who is known to talk. This dude was the only player, the only receiver to ever talk trash to me during a route.
Johnson finished 2003 setting a new Bengals single-season franchise record for receiving yards,
nigga
the
was
first of
catching
3 times
everything.
Johnson would break it during his career. Over the next 2 years, Johnson's game improved. So did his knack for coming up with new ways to get under his opponent's skin. Once sending a care package of Pepto-Bismol to the entire Browns secondary, suggesting they'd be sick to their stomach trying to cover 85 in their upcoming game.
People thought that was a ploy. It wasn't. Chad was a showman that way, and he needed that.
Then, in 05, he created his famous Who Covered 85 in 05 list, which listed names of opposing teams' star DBs next to a space for Chad to mark if they successfully covered him or not.
It was checking him off week to week.
Coach Lewis wasn't a fan of that one.
I'm always telling him, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
But cover list or no cover list, it was clear no one could cover Chad Johnson.
85 will always be open.
2005 was the year the rest of the Bengals finally caught up to Johnson's high-level play.
Cincinnati clinches their first division title since 1990.
Johnson led the AFC in receiving yards for the third straight year with 1,432, but it was his over-the-top touchdown celebrations that elevated Johnson's profile from star receiver to superstar receiver. There was the river dance performance, then he resuscitated a ball with CPR, proposed to a cheerleader, and performed a pylon putt-putt routine, complete with a Tiger Woods fist pump. That's right, it was a Bengal shouting out a tiger. Gotta love it. But there was more. On Christmas Eve, Santa Ocho followed up a 41-yard touchdown by pulling out a Santa bag and tossing gifts into the stands. Despite Johnson putting the fun back into the no-fun league, an early playoff loss to Pittsburgh, plus an injury-plagued start to the 06 season, left Johnson convinced he needed a change to get out of his rut. It all started innocently enough. As part of the NFL's celebration of Spanish Heritage Month, Johnson began referring to himself by the supposed Spanish translation of his jersey number, Ocho Cinco.
He tried to speak a lot of Spanish, and he was always wrong when he tried to put them into a sentence.
Máquina, ven aquí.
So Ocho Cinco just kind of made sense.
Because Ocho Cinco wasn't the correct Spanish translation of 85. But Google Translate was only 6 months old at the time, so Chad and everybody else just went with it.
Ocho Cinco from now on. Anybody that writes about whatever I say today, you call me Ocho Cinco. Do not say Chad.
The nickname became such a hit that Chad had the equipment manager create the Velcro to mock up a tearaway Ocho Cinco jersey for pregame. And just like that, a new persona instantly breathed new life into Johnson. In a Week 10 matchup against the Chargers, Chad went God mode, hauling in 260 receiving yards to go with a pair of touchdowns. Johnson calls this game the high-water mark of his career. Even today, on those rare occasions when Chad isn't eating at his favorite restaurant,
They say breakfast of champions, lunch, and dinner of champions. Don't let them tell you McDonald's is bad for you.
fancier restaurants, Chad's been known to tip his waitstaff $260. That's $1 for every yard he gained during that epic afternoon against the Chargers in 2006. But the numbers didn't stop there. The next game in New Orleans, more fireworks, with Ocho lighting up the scoreboard with 3 touchdowns and a $190 in receiving yards, enough to give Johnson a then NFL record for most receiving yards in back-to-back games ever. The following week, he did it again, going for 123 yards against the Cleveland Browns, accumulating the most receiving yards across a 3-game span since the NFL-AFL merger. The Bengals finished with just a 500 record, but Ocho Cinco still turned in a monster season. He caught an NFL-best 1,369 receiving yards, enough to become the first Bengal ever to lead the league in receiving yards. So, how do you celebrate such an accomplishment? If you're Chad Johnson, you celebrate by racing a thoroughbred racehorse. And Johnson beat the horse by 12 lengths. Sure, Johnson was given a 100-yard head start in a 200-yard race, but we can't let facts get in the way of fun, right? Now, if you think the pony stunt was a bit braggadocious, brace yourself, because Ocho takes it to the next level in Week 1 of the 07 season.
What does that say? Future Hall of Fame.
Was this stunt a little silly? Yes. Was it a little disrespectful? Maybe. Head coach Marvin Lewis, what did you think of the move?
Bad move.
But at the end of the day, wasn't this just a fun guy doing something a little funny? You be the judge.
Child, please. Child, please. Child, please.
1 week later came the famous shootout by the lake, where Chad went for 209 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. The second was followed up with an ill-advised leap into Cleveland's notoriously rowdy dog pound section. Ocho was doused in beer and given the Cleveland salute. But more importantly, by game's end, he
rewrote the Bengals record book. You're now the all-time leader in yards receiving, surpassing Isaac Curtis. What does that mean to you to hold that kind of record in your career?
It means a lot. It says a lot.
And it should. It's still a record he holds to this day. But then again, Chad is
the Bengals' all-time leader in pretty much every receiving category.
Fast forward to week 12 against the Titans, and all cameras were on Ocho when he borrowed one of those cameras to celebrate 3 touchdowns and a career-high 12 receptions.
And now he's running the camera. He's taking the crowd shot.
It was a special day for Chad. Not only did he secure another 1,000-yard receiving year, the 6th consecutive of his career, but Ocho also broke the Bengals' all-time reception record. Chad finished the year breaking the Bengals' single-season receiving record for the 3rd time in his career, with 1,440 yards. Then, just before the start of the 2008 season, Johnson legally changed his name to Chad Ochocinco. But with everybody already calling him Ochocinco, why go through the trouble of making it official? It all goes back to 2006, when Ochocinco was fined $5 million for
altering the NFL uniform.
Johnson was so mad, he changed his name just to stick it to the NFL and make them put Ochocinco on his jersey.
People were like, that's stupid. Ochocinco, that's not even 85. Okay, who cares? He gets a percentage of every sale of a jersey that's sold. I think it's brilliant.
And Ocho sold lots of jerseys, giving him lots to smile about in 08. But on the field, not so much smiling. Ocho had an awful first season as Ochocinco, with the Bengals starting 08, going 0-8. Things didn't turn around until the next season, when Chad gifted fans another term to add to the sports pop culture lexicon. Chad gave us child please.
Child please. Child please. Child please. Child please. Child please.
Which is basically
a nice way of telling someone, you.
And it was that child please / you attitude that Cincinnati needed to get back on track in 09. Things got fun again. During preseason, we saw Ocho kicking field goals. By midseason, he had a very innocent light bribery charge.
There he had $1 in his hand as if he said, I bet you $1 that that's a completed pass.
Either that, he was going to pay off the officials.
Then, after taking one to the house against Detroit, Chad was back to his old showman self, with a little sideline dress-up routine complete with a sombrero and poncho. Some found the celebration disrespectful, but imagine how much worse it could have been had the petting zoo donkey Chad hired not been turned away by security. That would have been offensive. But there was nothing offensive about the Bengals' offense in 09. They finished with a 10-6 record and won the AFC North. Cincy fans had visions of Super Bowl 44 dancing in their heads. And finally, the time to win it all was not now. Bengals were knocked out of the playoffs by a pre-butt fumble Mark Sanchez and the Jets. It was a brutal loss, with Chad held to just 28 yards, courtesy of Hall of Fame corner Darrelle Revis. Ochocinco wasn't shy making it known who the Bengals needed in 2010. And the front office went for it, bringing the equally outrageous Terrell Owens to Southwest Ohio.
I'm definitely pleased to be here.
Believing T.O. was the missing piece to bring it all together, expectations for the dynamic duo of Batman and Robin and the entire Bengals squad were higher than ever.
With what we have on paper, if we don't win a Super Bowl this year, it's a damn shame.
But the thing about NFL football, they don't play it on paper. They play it in real life. And the Ocho Owens experiment was a disaster. T.O. did lead all Cincy receivers in yards, receptions, and TDs, but the Bengals went from a playoff-caliber 10-6 team without him to crashing and burning with him at 4-12.
Just terrible. I mean, that's just plain and simple.
Maybe it was too much ego, too much personality for a single locker room. But the Bengals clearly overestimated the impact these two former All-Pros could contribute on the field so late in their careers. The only time the dynamic duo scored in the same game was in Week 7 against Atlanta. This was one of only 2 games Chad would have over 100 yards that season. The other game? That came against the team he would ultimately be traded to in the offseason, the New England Patriots. The Bengals felt Chad's on and off the field distraction reputation now outweighed his performance. The Hall of Fame jacket, the name change, the constant trash talk. Those were fine when the team was winning, but after going 4-12, his antics were suddenly less easy to tolerate. But Chad welcomed the change of scenery and looked forward to working with Bill Belichick, who was known for getting the very best out of his players and had a history of rebooting troubled veteran receivers. Prime example, Randy Moss, who saw a career resurgence when he joined the Patriots in 2007. Again, it all sounded good on paper, but Ocho struggled, shifting from star receiver in Cincy to barely contributing role player with the Patriots. He turned in the least productive season of his career, catching just 15 passes for 276 yards and 1 touchdown, all career lows. The Patriots did make it to the Super Bowl, and Chad did give Tom Brady his longest play of the game, but with younger talent like Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, and Rob Gronkowski on the roster, it came as no surprise when Ocho was released that offseason. A month later, friends and family back in Miami were hyped to learn Ocho inked a 1-year deal with his hometown Dolphins. It was all coming full circle.
It's good to be home, and I don't have a choice but to succeed.
And looking to shed his controversial image, Chad legally changed his name back to Johnson before reporting to Dolphins camp, thinking it would make him less of a distraction. But the thing is, whether it was Johnson or Ocho Chad was still Chad and would always be a distraction. Just a couple weeks into camp, Johnson got into a verbal altercation with his wife, which quickly turned violent.
NFL wide receiver Chad Johnson faces a domestic abuse charge after a violent incident involving his wife.
Johnson headbutted her, causing a 3-inch laceration to her forehead. The Dolphins released Johnson the next day.
I just think it's the best for both of us that, we kind of part ways at this point in time.
And just like that, Johnson would never play another down in the NFL. Over his electric 11-year career, he amassed 6 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pros, and every major Bengals all-time receiving record. His feet were arguably the fastest we've ever seen, and so was his mouth, that just never seemed to stop running. But he used both flawlessly to be a nightmare for opposing defenders. Love him or hate him, he didn't care, as long as you were tuned to the Ocho